The other day, buddy. Here we are.
Here we are, William.
Hello, Mr. Michael. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am doing awesome, having a lot of fun as always, and a lot of creativity and just lightness.
Fantastic. Hey, you were sharing a little bit. You were sharing a little bit about trust with me before we started. And when it comes to trusting yourself and trusting the universe, how best can you share more about trust within ourselves in our day-to-day lives?
The one thing I look at most when we're looking at trust, when we're exploring trust, it's trust. I'll say trust is a step towards your knowing. But then there's a trust, like when you close your eyes, you take a nice slow deep breath, just focusing your consciousness on the sternum or on the diaphragm, just to where right here, right now, you can really just start to feel a nice deep sigh. You can really start to feel more and more. It's like you're exhaling all the toxicities and gas and, poison gases and all that fun stuff. You're now inhaling more and more particles of oxygenation, particles of light. And let's just do it a few more times. And then, nice deep sigh. Letting all the day-to-day preoccupations, all of the day-to-day identifications, whether it be workloads, whether it be kids, family, or whatever it may be for yourself, it's just taking another breath with the eyes closed and just starting to acknowledge and connect with you, the part that's making your body vibrate faster and faster right now, assisting it, opening it, amplifying, and of course, accelerating the vibratory levels in this body on this planet. And now, with the eyes still closed, starting to feel how all these colorful pressures and thoughts, projections, filters, where we're just now, deep sigh again, releasing all of their magnetic hold on you and your magnetic hold on them, even releasing for a moment. I say releasing, but essentially stepping out of the whole scenario that, okay, I got to be a this, got to look like this, got to talk like that, got to talk like that, got to be here, got to not there, and all these man-made taught projections. Now, once again, we're just right here feeling and welcoming in and feeling more and more of your light beingness. Everything right now is moving into a clear slate to where we now have nothing as a focal point. Within the mind, we have no direction. We have no projections right here, right now. We have no filters right now. And this is where we start welcoming in more and more of yourself, more and more, I'd just say clarity, because we don't have any filters up. And then we exhale again, just decompressing from all the tensions, the worries, the overwhelming burdens, all that fun stuff. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. And now, let's go into more so feeling yourself right now. Now, it's kind of interesting because we're going to feel one of two things. We're going to feel love or light, however you wish to identify with it. Or you're going to feel fear, anger, resentment, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, that whatever's playing out in the day, whatever's not playing out in the day, on and on. So let's just take another breath until eventually we're totally clear and unconnected with anyone and everything around us. And now we decide, okay, I choose to know the truth about, whatever, however, or anything. Now it's interesting, right? Because now we welcome forth our entourage. We welcome in more of you, of the facet, unique being and facet of light, of love, of creator that you are. But right now, isn't it kind of fun? We open our eyes now. We have no opinions. We have no offense. We have no defense. We have no fight. We have no flight. But right here, right now, we can actually look outside of our body through the eyes at absolutely everything outside and around you. And right now, let's just look at it for what it is. There are all these objects, whether it be nature and all the creation of nature, whether it be brother humanity, whether it be plants, whether it be animals, kids. Well, let's just take another breath and start to really acknowledge right now. It is all outside of myself. And now, when I ask you to choose to know the truth or ask for the truth about anything, anyone, any subject, well, we can use, the body tilting, we can use kinesthetics, we can let our eyes go out of focus when we're looking at right above someone's head, just to start to see more of their true presence. It goes well beyond the aura. The aura is a split polarized state. The mental bodies, emotional bodies, pain bodies, light bodies, and all these different bodies. But right now, when I say it's polarized, it's because the truth of it all is there's one body. It's you. You are that essence. All the rest, Kirlian photography would take a picture of our aura and see red, green, blue, or black spots, whatever whatever it presents as. But let's all be clear that, okay, those are just different parts of even the action reaction components within myself projecting outside of myself to, let's call them blockages, really, because they're all different frequencies, vibrational frequencies of perceptional belief systems, blockages, because normally you would be complete gold, or we can call it complete light. Now, we choose to know the truth, but here's just the fun part. If you can imagine yourself as a child, I'd say pre-womb, but let's go ahead and go through the womb, come out on the big slab. And now, okay, we're being held, we're being cleaned off, whatever. Well, right now, you've taken on some stuff in the womb, it is what it is. But right now, let's just take another breath where before you were inundated with what your mom was feeling, what your dad was feeling, what was going on for them, with them, between them, and the exponential world. Before you started deciding I'm loved, loving, lovable, or I'm the wrong gender, or whatever it may be. Let's just go to that place, ideally, where you really are just pure essence. But at this point, you're not male or female. You have a body that has one. Really, it's just another organ, no more, no less. Now, it doesn't make you one way or the other way. All that stuff, once again, is just taught behavioral mannerisms. So now, as we start to look at the truth through yourself, before you started making via experiences and so forth, before you started making all these decisions about yourself, here you are, a beautiful presence, love of omnipotence and purity and innocence. Now, this is where, when we go here right now, it's not to go back and, resent your parents or whatever. They did the best they could with what they had. Otherwise, they would have done different. Now, from here, let's look at everything through those eyes for a moment. Before we had any filters, and filters play out and they really come to the carnal comfort zone within and through yourself. This over here feels great. This over here, maybe it doesn't feel great. Now, there's still two attributes. When it's all said and done, at the end of the day, it's either light, love, or fear. Fear encompasses all the different emotions, not the feelings, but the emotions. Emotions are not a feeling. This is where you become lighter, brighter, clearer, sharper, where we're no longer asking for the truth that we want to hear or the truth that we want to be true. We're no longer attempting to fit into this box, that box, and all of the stuff that's been perceived to be happy or sad. We're no longer perceiving. I mean, we can get into religion, we can get into the Aboriginals, we can get into all these different pathways of the ideal of God, creator, mother God, father God, creator of all that is, but we got to remember, I mean, in all reality, there is no male or female God. That's only a human trait. So where we start to really, once again, start to experience our essence and our presence right now. Where, and a part I want you to feel is the openness, the innocence, the purity within and through yourself. And as yourself right here, right now. And this is where truths are interesting. Ask yourself right now, what was my truth 20 years ago? What was my truth I was taught coming of age? What was the truth that was told to me coming of age? Well, this is how things work. You gotta, rape, pillage, plunder, or you gotta suffer, or nothing's ever too good to be true, and you have to have your guard up. And it's not safe if you have a female structure to go out at nighttime, and it's not safe to go if you have a male structure to go out at nighttime. And all these colorful things, dark alleys equal XYZ. It's just a place without light, really. It doesn't equal anything. So what is that like for you right now? To have no filters of fear when we take a breath to look at all that is. Because if you can even let go of your body for a moment, and I'm asking you to let go of your body for a moment, not to leave your body, but to look at creation without a persona of a singular I. Like the filters can have a female structure or have a male structure, and we have it's kind of interesting because we have all these giant books, bigger than Santa's book, of Christmas gifts to give, of all these definitions. So not about what we should like or not like, not about all the, what I'm going to call again, filters, to-dos, gotta do's, the breadwinner, bread loser, and no bread, all that fun stuff, where we could just become right now that pure, clear consciousness, becoming a clear, imperfect, I'll call it channel of divine love and truth, but you're not the channel. You're letting your body, and the point here is that you're integrating, marrying with the rest of you through the body to clear out anything and everything that is not of the highest of love, the highest of light beingness. And I say clearing it out, once again, the hardest job there's been, you've already accomplished. The biggest, densest scenario, biggest, densest hurdle or mountain to climb or hurdle to jump is waking up. So congratulations, you've woken up. Now, it should be easy because you've stepped out of the pain and the torment. Now it's just all these old deities that you perceive to be real, you perceive to be the truth. But then again, you look at it now and the truth when I was 3 years old is a heck of a lot different than now because you're constantly evolving. Next year, your truth's going to be different. The year after that is going to be even different because you're constantly expanding, expanding, integrating, expanding, integrating, expanding, plateauing, which is a whole nother level of integration. It doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're letting for the rest of the world catch up to you.
Wow. Thank you, William.
Michael?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And we have one question in the chat. Can you talk about 5D, the new Earth, and what we can expect, and what can we expect during this unfolding? Additionally, is there something happening specifically in 2027?
Yes, in 2027, it's going to be the now. Everything is going to be the now. So if we really look at it, right here, right now, everything is still right here, right now, the now. So it's going to be the same now, but the veils will become thinner and thinner and thinner to where eventually there won't be veils. You're transcending even right here, right now, because you're walking on the new Earth. That's why you're watching all this stuff come up to be revisited. You're watching everything that is not of integrity, sincerity, purity, clarity, or light, or love. You're watching it all, unravel all around you. You're watching the planet change. You're watching the planet shift. You're watching the planet evolve. You're watching the vibratory levels of humanity as a whole, your best of camaraderies and your worst of enemies. You're watching it all reach a level, equal point, neutral point. So you're watching all of that unveil itself, evolve itself. And you're watching other dear ones, higher levels, still knocking on the door harder than ever, playing a high school band out in front of itself to get its attention. And now we're going from there to speeding up vibratorily to where even the planetary matrix and all the souls and all the density that has been, it's almost like different levels of crustacean within and upon the planet. You're watching it change, you're watching it shift, you're watching it evolve more and more and more and more, clearer, quicker, more and more open and more speedily. You're watching it all evolve right around you, under your feet. And then, of course, you're also feeling all these beautiful changes going on within your body. All these beautiful changes going on in the mind. Then you're also watching the breakdown, melting away, and the burning away of all of the ego arrogance, all the polarities, all the dualities. You're watching all of this become purified and divinitized within yourself, but also as yourself and from yourself. You're letting go of all these buckets and dump trucks of stagnation, heaviness, density. Many will look at it as lightness, darkness. So I would say, okay, all the darkness in the world is coming up for exposure as light. The single candle is lighting up and burning it all away. Now, is there going to be a mass exodus? Of course not. That's been happening, geez Louise, back since the late 80s. And now there's times where everyone and their brother gets an ailment, leaves the planet, but it's not about punishment. It's more about having the opportunity that says, okay, I've reached the finish line right over here. Now, as a soul, do I want to, it's kind of like even the dissolvement of the segregated soul level from dualities and polarities, pain and punishment and vows, contract agreements, all that fun stuff. You're watching all of that reach ahead, but then dear one saying, okay, you know what? Now I'm ready for a new beginning. Now I'm ready, without walking out of the body. It could be COVID, it could be cancer, it could be just laying down and stepping out of the body. All this stuff is occurring, but the soul, which is now moving into your higher levels, are deciding, okay, am I ready for a new beginning or am I ready to step out? Now, it's not about punishment, not about doing something wrong, and not about all this other stuff. It's just dear ones having the opportunity to step out and make a transition or a full transition. Now, That's not good. It's not bad. It's part of the evolutionary process that we're watching all around ourselves right now. And you're watching some. It's kind of interesting because you're watching it around, but then you're watching some perceivably go south in their vibratory levels and frequencies of megahertz of light. And you're watching others accelerate. And I bless them both, because if there's dear ones that are going through all this stuff and all that stuff, really holding on to the old paradigm, or at least it's kind of like trying to hold on to a sinking ship. Well, it's not going to work very good for you in the long run. But from here, it's like you're evolving beyond it. Sometimes it feels like you're walking through the marshes with it. But then you go beyond walking through the marshes with it, because everything around you, when we step back, we just become that consciousness that I was walking you through earlier. You're able to see it, be aware of it, not polarize, not judge it, and on and on and on. And you get to a point of being able to more and more bless it and moving forth. And it's so cool, because then we go into what the other part of that question is. We start going into the fifth dimension. Right now, we're at the beginning of the fourth as a planet in brother humanity. Some are playing in, still like very identified with the third, but it's hard to maintain being identified with the third, because everything in the third dimensional plane is collapsing. And they start feeling more and more alone, more and more segregated, separated, until eventually, poof, that melts away. And all right, now we're into the fourth, the fifth. And now if we go into dimensions, the reality is that fifth would mean the ideal of the fifth dimension is hypothetically unconditional love. Now, does that mean you're going to become one with everyone and everything? Of course not, because you have your own unique journey as a unique facet of creator with the unique frequencies and tones, realms of honor that you have individually, to where now there's more of you to expand, to express within the fifth dimension, rather than all these segregated dimensional parts of yourself, which are called soul fragmentations, still experiencing in all these other realms. And the whole point is you're bringing all of yourself right here, right now, going back to the whole unfoldment of the idea of an aura, where, okay, you have the mental bodies, you have the pain bodies, you have the subtle bodies, then eventually your light bodies, on and on. Well, you already are your light bodies. It's just all this stuff that it's created weight and density within yourself. It's being expunged, it's being purified, dissolved, as you're still speeding up and speeding up in your body's vibratory level, speeding up through the fifth dimension, and I mean, literally beyond. Because once you make it into, let's just call it I'll call it the metaphoric fifth dimension. So you stepped out of the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension, and it's so cool because you can feel the shifts in the magnetic resonance in your body. You can feel the cells speeding up and speeding up. But as a common, it's kind of like you can't go back to the first, second, or third dimensional plane. You can try to pretend, but that's kind of like all of us trying to go back when we first came out of the womb and trying on our baby shoes. It's not going to work very well. You're lucky if you get them on one toe. Now, because you've outgrown it. So you can pretend, you could try to hold on, which, unfortunately, you're watching going on globally right now. And all the he said, she said, not as much as it was, my God's bigger than your God. And, all that stuff is really just more and more being equalized, burnt away. And where even the filters of my God, your God, Michael's God, on and on, where all of those identities are also melting away. But you still have, no matter what dimensional plane you're in, you may be more aware with the clarity of the knowing that we all come from the same source, and that everything is particles of love, particles of light, everything, even the darkest of dark to the lightest of light. At the source, in the core of them, it's still pure creator consciousness and pure energy, vibrating at a certain resonance to be able to have a computer. Computers are creator consciousness and particles of light. They just have a certain purpose that they're programmed for. And given the shape and the size and all the dear one's energies to become a part of it. To create it is this dimensional portal that it is. It's kind of cool because it can take you pretty much anywhere. But now we're bringing you to be able to do so without feeling so all this other stuff projected towards you. Now, the idea is that we all, culture, color, creed, countries, incarnations, that now we're all standing back, giving everyone a standing ovation like you would when you leave the body. And great job. And now we're moving into higher resonance, higher vibratory levels, more and more dear ones waking up. And I really want to encourage, for all of you to stay away from the whole ideal of spirituality. And the reason I say that isn't to deny that you're a spirit in a body on a planet, but we don't need another belief system because that's no different than Christianity. And many perceive it to be a part of their life. Well, how about you here as creator experiencing and expressing through the physical form that now we're able to look at everything with clarity, not just spirituality, and where spirituality does not become so polarized for you, and where you don't have to eat tofu every day and float on cloud 9, becoming so ungrounded. Some dear ones do it. Hey, more power to you. But I do encourage you to come back into your body, because that's the part that starts shutting down when you're out of your body so much.
Yes. And as you were speaking, William, there's one question. Let me see. How do we assist our bodies in keeping up with these vibratory changes? As our light beingness is coming in more, how do we assist our bodies in keeping up? Because sometimes it does feel a little intense.
Yeah, there's many ways. One part that definitely helps is eating a heavy piece of protein. Something you can use as a grounding rod. Something you can use to give your body an anchor so it can actually anchor in, integrate. It could be protein, it could be, the liquid colloidal trace minerals at times, it could be even a cup of coffee, something that's heavier. If you're a vegan, vegetarian, or a carnivore, on and on, great. Let's give ourselves, or even living in prana and living off prana. Well, we want to give our body something that, it can use to ground with. It's not about what you eat, when you eat, or how you eat. Everything are particles of consciousness. It's more about, assisting the body and assisting yourself to integrate through the body to where you're giving the body something to process, which in turn, it uses as an anchor to allow your consciousness to expand, but also letting the body keep up with you, catch up with you. And then, of course, not judging what you're doing. I've had dear ones put a rock in their pocket because it keeps you present in your presence, as well as we're using it as an anchor for the body.
Cool. Here's another question about the body and changes that are going on. Is it possible that the more we embody, the more pain in the hips we get? And actually, 2 or 3 people mentioned specifically something about the hips and pain. Can you comment a little bit more about that?
There are times, yes. But the thing is, it could be the hips, it can be your fingers, your wrists, it could be the neck, it could be the lungs for many, the kidneys for many, all the way to the feet, calves, and thighs. But it's always going to be, so like a lot of dear ones are going through a lot of transitions and with their eyeballs right now. and pancreases, diabetes, symptomologies, on and on. Now, the biggest thing, and the reason this is happening, has everything to do with the body attempting to accelerate and accelerate. Now, vibrating faster, clearing out debris, clearing out also not just debris. I mean, the debris to me would just be like the energy the energy which is called emotion behind the judgments. So now it's different for everyone. And the reason that it's different is because it's going to be something that actually gets your attention personally. That's why for many, it may be the fingernail on your little finger. It may be the thumb or the wrist. It's something that's going to get your attention and keep you present, wide awake, fully alert. Now, it's also areas for each and every dear one, areas where you've held, areas where you've stored and held all of these different buildups of energies. And when you go into these areas, I mean, seriously, speaking about dimensions, you go into the pelvic girdle, and you start becoming aware that there's a part of you still as a child that what it looks like is that they're crying, they're upset, and then they're trying to bite their lip because they got to be strong, and where they're not being kind of like sharing, and no one's listening to them. And then trying to explain, and it's like they try to explain, then wham, everything sucks in and they go into a steel drum because they're not being heard. They're not really being, like even from the parents, from the home life, they're not really feeling like they're being fully embraced. Now, I go back to, okay, the parents did the best they could with what they had, because they did with what they had. Now, regardless of how traumatic, dramatic, and so forth it may have been, if they would have known different, they would have done different. Now, we can look at things with all the common sense, but you got to remember, where emotion is present, there is not common sense. So we go into these parts of the body that, and it's kind of interesting because parts where you've housed these emotions, and it's interesting because you can go there, take a few deep breaths, closing your eyes, just allowing yourself to sink into that part of the body, and then watch what starts to expose itself. Now, I was speaking of this dear one specifically of everything that's going on in the hips, but there was also, when decisions were made, that, okay, I'm on my own. Okay, to survive, I've got to be XYZ. To get along, I have to put on this face, that face, and pretend and behave like this, behave like that, to be perceptually belong and loved, or at least acknowledged by everything going on around oneself. Now, I'm not saying it's black and white. Yeah, there's other times at those times in your childhood where things were just easy peasy. But from here, it's kind of like that undercurrent that has been held on and has been so identified that you've perceived it to be a part of your soul identity. But it's not. It was only an experience.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Hey, William, I think one more question here.
Awesome, buddy.
What are the realms of honor?
Realms of honor or rungs of honor?
It says realms, and you can answer it how you desire.
Rungs of honor is when let's take just this lifetime. You, as a soul, through the halls of karma, through all of these parts, when karma was still in place, you decided to go on this journey to experience all these dear ones, all these other parts of your soul group and soul family. Now, it could be a sister, a mother, a father, whatever, that's chasing you around with a hatchet. But still, as a soul, you signed up to go through that to ensure you are going to wake up as yourself through yourself. Eventually, yeah, all the old memories, yes, eventually all the fear, all the terror, all that fun stuff, yeah, eventually it's burning away. That's all decided on how much you're willing to let go and basically just accept, okay, yeah, that did happen. How blessed I am, it's not happening now. Not to keep reliving and reliving it and reliving it, but how blessed I am. Great job, body, you held in there, and now we're jamming. Now, what happens? Let's say we get to the jamming part and we, I don't know, get in a car accident. It's kind of funny because it's actually a car purposefulness, because it's connecting with these other dear ones, and it's also waking you up for yourself for whatever reason. But most usually it's about something like that to put you into bed or whatever, that has you stop out of your 9 to 5 day-to-day tunnel vision. It's like bam, and it jolts you to wake up and to really start to really prioritize things and look at things with clarity, but asking yourself, what the heck am I doing and why? Well, what happens? You get to that point, and let's say you leave the planet through that scenario, and what happens is you leave the body, you're standing above the body, at first, when you step out, you still have the shadow of the body. That's what's called, at times dear ones see their grandfather, grandmother, or kids, or whatever, dogs, cats. It's that they still have the magnetic resonance. And at first, you still have the shape and all the body characteristics, except you just don't have any solidity. And then you end up step by step. I say step, but it's more like up, not linear. In your step, you take another step, you start vibrating faster, another step, vibrating faster. You're dropping, because you still have it's almost like it's like a magnetic state that still has you still having the form of the body. And then each step you take up, you ascended host, your angelic, archangelic realms, they start walking you home. And as you're getting closer and closer to making a full transition, you leave the body, you go back through the caves of creation, which are literally dimensional planes. And then what happens, you get to the halls of honor, and you get into the halls of honor where there's all these dear ones, dear ones, Trinity, spirit, soul, and form that are beyond form, loved ones, or loved ones, because I'd say loved ones, because like there's grandfather, 5 generations, 30 generations, whatever, or a grandmother and my best friend from high school, whatever it may be for you, that they're all there, they're greeting you. And then you go through there. And then what happens, you're standing, basically, the best way to explain it would be like in the middle of an arena. And your frequencies and your tones of your awakenment, of how far you've come, and your evolvement. Evolvement means to constantly metamorphosize, which means to vibrate faster and faster. You're given all these rungs. One that is all this stuff that you accomplished and superseded this past life stream. The other one is a rung of celebration. The other rung is a rung of embracement. And you're given all this, including your higher frequencies, colorescences, and tones. Now, the other colorescences is not based in emotion. It's more so based in the octave of vibrational frequencies in which you reached through the body. And there are also markers. And it also marks your frequencies and your tones. It puts off a different sound than anyone and everyone else in the whole universe. It's where you're acknowledged as a singular facet that you are, and praised. And so,
and does that And does that mean when you come in next time, you come in with those new tones and frequencies?
Yeah, and you continue to go further and further to eventually, I mean, it's not something any longer you, quote, have to do. Many dear ones now, make a full transition, done deal, and into particles of light, particles of creator's light beingness, which you, as that facet of creator light beingness, you come back into the whole of light beingness. You still have your individualized facet that you are, but you're no longer like lingering and wandering as a singular I. And it's kind of cool because I get presented a lot, Michael, with, it's like very old paradigmal, but they once wake up, they're moving forth, and they're wanting to know that everyone and anyone that's been in their life stream that's ever perceivably brought harm upon them, they want to know they're going to be punished. And they're going to be in torment, they're going to burn in hell, whatever. And it's interesting, right? Because did they really do it to you, or did they do it for
you? Yeah.
And that's a lot of baggage to carry around, polarized baggage. So that kind of says, okay, well, I haven't quite got over it, superseded it, and let them go. So they're still renting space in my consciousness and, oddly enough, the body. So what would it be like for all of us just to right here, right now, metaphorically, drop everything, take off all of our costumes, anything and everything that has you identified with the physical world, with the mind, the ego, and otherwise? What would it be like for all of us just to drop everything, just go on a walkabout, and never look back? So my point is that we have nothing to hold on to. It seems scary. I mean, what's 130 with humidity outside? Well, okay, great. Well, we still walk out there and take a bottle of water or whatever, but not something that keeps you trapped in a singular Will's at this, Michael's at that, Mary, Jennifer are at XYZ, and blah, 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 where all that stuff just starts dissolving away. Where, what if that became our new normal, which in truth, it goes back to all those bumper stickers, you can't take it with you. So after you drop the body, it's interesting how you look at things and how light, radiant, and iridescent you are, because at that point, nothing's owning you. Am I asking that you really physically do that? No, that's not the point. The point is, who am I without it? Which is another pathway, another rabbit hole to not go down, but go up into self-discovery. And now we even get to the point where we start waking up, we start realizing how much you have enjoyed, but it was always through someone else's eyes, not your own, because you were, quote, supposed to.
Yeah. We were just talking about that on my last session.
Yeah, well, I forgot about that. It's not about going without and poverty and sacrifice. No, it's the opposite. Isn't it fun? I have this new car. It's the best thing since sliced bread, this new car, and everyone's going to look at me with this new car. Well, what happens when the car doesn't become new? Or what happens if it just fleeted off in the wind? Who are you? Rather than it owning you, now you get to enjoy it. I used to play a game with myself and buy a new car, then go scratch it real quick just to take tension off. It's just, it's funny. And it's like, well, yeah, because now I can actually relax and enjoy it.
Right. So true. As soon as I got a dent
new shoes, I would step on my own toes.
Last year, as soon as I got a little dent from a car door opening into my door, I just left it there. because then it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, now you can enjoy it. And it's just so fun. Even physically, you can feel your body release.
It does. It really does. Well, William, thank you so much. This has been wonderful, fantastic, lovely, expanding. And thank you all for joining us. Until next month, namaste.